Hello again, it's John here in my shed. So you're now watching what's happening in John's shed again. So welcome. This is my Velocette Valiant engine that I'm currently working on, and I just thought to show you the next little processes I'm going through before starting to assemble things back together. For those who aren't familiar with the inside of these little engines, this is the gearbox end and reduction gearbox end, and I'll just take my glove off because I'm not comfortable wearing gloves really. This pipe here, I have shown it on another video, originates at this end here. And we can go down a little bit into this here. Look here. I love it when this technology works. Right. This is the suction strainer for the oil pump, and this is the spaghetti that comes off it to the various parts on the engine, which I'll go into at another time. But this particular pipe here, this comes off here and runs through this casing, and I'll put it back where it was, like so, and comes up here. There's a little banjo joint there. I've took these supports out because they're very fiddly on this, and especially this one, because on assembly you have to have a copper washer both sides of the banjo, and you've got to put the screw in from this end. So as you can see with my slim little fingers, it's a really simple job. So that oil comes up from the pump, it comes here through a banjo bolt which goes and feeds this bearing. It continues up here to this banjo, again a washer either side of it, and it then continues around here. I'll try and turn it so the light's on it, to this nozzle here. Yeah, on the Valiant it differs to the LE, whereas this banjo bolt, then it comes through this casing to another banjo at the top, and there's two pipes run one to each side cylinder head, and that feeds the oil here. This is the other end of it, up to here we go again, another banjo joint which feeds the rocker gear and the valve stems at the top end. Right, so let's go back to this bit, which is the whole reason of the video. I want to take this out. I've undone it at the feed end under the banjos, and we can take this out here by a little bit of jiggery pokery. It's always fun putting it back in again. Right, now as you can see, now it's out. I'll turn it down so you can see. Right, this end here is the little nozzle that sprays into the back of the reduction gear housing, and it sprays into a hole in the casing, which I showed on another video, and it sprays oil in. As you can see, that's been positioned incorrectly, and for some while, on more than one occasion, has rubbed on the edge of that gear, which proves it's in the wrong place. And where it was spraying before I removed it, it would have been spraying on top of the reduction gear teeth, which is a very simple mistake to make if you don't know, because it looks as if that's what it should do. Well, actually what it should do is hook over the gear, which would be running here. This should actually hook over the gear when this is in position. That should look downwards, and that nozzle should spray into the hole in the casing. And unfortunately it's been something, it's mentioned in quite a few notes, and several people have commented over the years. When you put it together, the easiest thing to do, without, if you don't know, is when you push the gear in, it pushes this out of the way. What you've got to do is put the gear in sort of underneath this, so that curve is looking, if you like, looking over the gear and spraying downwards. Well, if you don't know, you don't know. And to push the gear, this out of the way with the gear, it all squashes because it's only copper, and this can spray anywhere it wants, and it certainly won't spray where it's supposed to unless you're very careful. And then of course this is where you start getting problems with the bearings wearing, overheating, and getting too much end float, which is also on my other video. So what I intend doing, once I've now removed this, I'll cover this all over again, and I'm going to anneal this pipework just to make it nice and malleable again, concentrating on this end. I have checked that it's not blocked, but I'll check it again, make sure that nozzle's clear, and then what I can do is bend it to somewhere near before assembly. And what I'm going to do is make some sort of a jig up using these bolt holes and that centre there maybe as a reference, so I can actually position this all prior to assembly, because obviously once the casing's on you can't see up through where the sump should go. You just can't see up far enough to see it. I have got a little endoscope which I thought about, but there again, the trouble is when you're looking at the endoscope you always move it the wrong way to what you want it to. Yeah, anyway, that's just me. So what I'll do is come up with an idea of making some sort of a jig up. What the Velocette recommend is to have a sacrificial casing that you can cut a hole out, so you can slip the casing on here, position that in the right position, and then take the old casing off. When you assemble your proper one, you can slip it all into position. But as I say, I haven't got a casing that I want to sacrifice, because again, in my collection anyway, they're getting a bit scarce. So we'll have a look at that. So that's the oil feed pipe that I wanted to have a look at. If I turn the engine back on its back, you can perhaps drop this down a bit lower so you can see under. So the engine's on its back now. So this is the sump sits on here, which is just a little tin sump that sits on, and it has some. It's only made out of tin, so when it's on with its gasket, the cork gaskets are okay, but you can over compress them, and people have got heavy hands, and you tighten these little BA screws up too tight and it deforms the joint face on the sump along here, so it's all wavy and it pours oil out. They can leak quite easily on their own without people messing them up. They're not the best. I think just a cardboard gasket made out of a cornflake box probably be better than a cork gasket, but that's just my opinion. So this is a filter gauze. It's very crude, just to take any big bits out. The good thing about the Velocette they were quite forward thinking, and with the LE and the Valiant and the Vogue as well, they all have an oil filter, which is quite unusual for the era. I've got an old Triumph, and the only oil filter it's got there is like it's just like a mesh in the bottom of the oil tank, as I say, to stop big bits, and it's very crude. But the Velocette, fair play to them, they did have a proper little reusable oil filter. I have found that the element in it is exactly the same as BMW R series, which I used to have one, and what I've been doing, I've been using those. There's a slight modification on the rubber gasket, and they are a high flow, high efficiency oil filter, and they work very well. And well, I think they're about £7.50 off the good old marketplace we all use. So I've done one for this. I've done it on my LE, and I've done it on my the Valiant, and as I say, they work a treat. This is the oil pump here. I'm not going to go into detail, but obviously you've got all your various plumbing that goes to your bearings. This is the pressure regulator. So the oil feed comes through the pressure regulator, which is adjustable here. When it's up to running temperature, you can adjust that accordingly. On this Valiant, unusually, it has got an oil pressure gauge. I do intend putting one on mine, and maybe my LE as well, just because I can, I think, really. But you need a little banjo with an oil takeoff, which goes up to your oil pressure gauge. When you're setting the oil pressure, unless you know what you're doing, you shouldn't really mess about with them, because they are set at the factory. But if it's 60 odd years old and you want to make sure it's okay, you can rig an oil pressure gauge up to here, and run the engine at running temperature at about, I forget what revs it is, about 2,500 revs, and you can adjust the oil pressure, which should be about 30 psi, I think, which is more than enough. So that's got a pressure regulator, so it comes in, it's regulated, then it goes off to various places. And this is the feed pipe, I think, to the filter. What else can I show you while it's upside down? Again, unusually, somebody's been playing about, and here these little rubber spaces between the fins on both sides of the engine have been put in. Now that's something that they used to do a lot on two-strokes, to stop the ringing noise through the fins. If you've ever plucked them with no spaces in, you can ping them and they can act like a little amplifier for any rattles or noises, and they don't really need amplifying. They're bad enough anyway. So yeah, that's unusual. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, it can't hurt. These two pipes, this one and the one on the other cylinder right over the other side of the engine here, these two are the return pipes. The oil returns from doing its job in the cylinder head, and they return into either side of the sump. So there is a theory, and I have experimented a little bit, that because these had a bit of a reputation for being a bit smoky on one cylinder, and I never can remember which side, I think it's the right hand side cylinder, tend to be a bit smoky. There's lots of theories about it, and I've seen lots of mods. One being just below here, there's a metal splash plate there. Metal splash plate, yeah. So as the crank turns, it flings oil at, centrifugally out in all directions, and because of the direction of the rotation of the crank, one side cylinder gets splashed more than the other, and the theory was that it was splashing too much oil on the bores of the cylinder, and because of the type of oil scraper ring, it couldn't cope with the amount of oil. On my other LE, Valiant, that I restored, around the circumference of that cylinder, near the bottom of the skirt, there's a ring of holes drilled, which was a theory to try and get rid of too much oil. Again, that was done when I bought it, and I've not done anything about those, but I did fit that splash guard, which was missing on mine. And because I've used modern, what they call, inverted commas, pit bike pistons, which are very similar to Honda 50, I've used two of those because I couldn't get oversized pistons. My barrels on my other Valiant were very, very badly scored and also very pitted through rusting, and I bored them out until I got all the marks out, and then I found a set of pistons after a lot of searching from a pit bike, and they were, I believe from memory, 52mm diameter, and but slightly tall on the crown. So I took a little bit off the top. I won't go into too much detail. Took a little off the top of the piston crown, which was difficult because it's shaped and pocketed, and then I had to take a little bit off the top of the cylinder barrel, and then I bored it to the suitable size for the pistons. So that my Valiant is a little bit oversized on bore. I have got some still photos. I might do a little slideshow showing you what I did on my other Valiant, but it hasn't gone bang yet. It's still running quite nicely, and it doesn't smoke, which I'm very pleased about. But I'm probably down to more modern oil scraper rings, perhaps. But there, anyway, that's just an idea. So that's the end of the crank. Yeah, this plate here can be replaced when these are US, but really theoretically, because of the bearings, everything, it should all be a match set. Once it's built up, it should all be a line board and done perfectly, but and swapping it from another engine isn't in engineering terms a very good thing to do. So I don't think there's a lot else to say in there for now. Yeah, so that's just this video, just showing you that oil feed pipe. What I'll do, I'll anneal it, and then we'll do another video lining it up for the oil feed hole. Okay, well, that's all from what's happening in John's shed for a little while. I've got another video I've just recently done, so I'll be putting that on tonight, I think. And I hope you enjoy the other ones. I did one where I took my Valiant out for a spin the other Sunday when it was a lovely day. I took it around for about a 15 mile, 20 mile run round, and again, she's running beautifully. It's done about 250 miles since the engine restoration, and it seems to be going okay, and it's not burnt a drop of oil. It's perhaps leaked a little bit, but not dropped any. So that's good, and hopefully this will be the same. I've got one or two mods I'd like to do. That's just crossed my mind. Yeah, we'll do a video on that as well. Okay, I'll see you soon, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. See you soon. Bye bye.